Today, we are going to break down a super simple but really powerful way to beat something that, let's be honest, gets all of us: procrastination. But what if I told you that the reason you put things off has absolutely nothing to do with being lazy? What if that whole story we tell ourselves is just plain wrong? And get this, what if the secret to actually getting started on all those big things you want to do was a method that takes less than 2 minutes? I know, it sounds way too easy to be true. And honestly, that's probably why so many of us just overlook it and stay stuck. But here's the kind of scary part. Every single time you decide to put something off, you're not just losing a few minutes or hours. You are actively, literally training your brain to fail. You're building a habit of not starting, and that habit gets stronger every single time you delay. To really see how this plays out, let's talk about Daniel. His story, well, it's a perfect picture of what this procrastination trap looks like. So, Daniel, right? He had these big goals. He wanted to get in shape, start a little business on the side, build a better life. But his go-to phrase was always, "I'll start tomorrow." And you know how that goes. Tomorrow became next week, then next month for sure, until a whole year just poof, gone. And he had absolutely nothing to show for it. And here is the absolute gut punch of it all. Daniel's problem wasn't that he couldn't do the work. He was smart, he was capable. Nope, the real reason he was failing was devastatingly simple. He just never started. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been there? Where you've put a task off for so long that the very idea of it, just thinking about it, makes you feel exhausted? That mental weight is a very real thing, and we're about to figure out how to get rid of it. So this leads us to the big question. Why? What is the real reason we wait? Well, I can tell you this, it's probably not what you think. Okay, this is the core idea we all seem to get wrong. We think procrastination is about time management, that if we just had the right planner or a better app, it would all be solved. That's the myth. The truth is, it's a starting problem. Your brain doesn't hate the work, it hates the friction and the discomfort of getting started. So why is starting so hard? Well, because it feels heavy, it feels uncomfortable, it's uncertain, and our brains, they're wired to protect us from that stuff. So they do this little trick where they steer us towards the easy, comfy things, like scrolling through social media or watching another video. Anything to avoid that initial push. And here's where it gets really dangerous. Each time you give in and delay, you're reinforcing that pattern. And over time, that pattern starts to define you. You become a thinker, a planner, a dreamer, but not a doer. And that, right there, is how our biggest goals and dreams just quietly fade to black. But what if you don't need some huge burst of motivation? What if you just need a smaller, easier starting line? That's what this is all about, the 2-minute rule. Let's think of this as your new beginning. That's it. The entire concept, the entire secret is wrapped up in this one little number, just 2 minutes. And the rule itself? It's almost laughably simple. Step 1, if a task you need to do will take less than 2 minutes, you immediately go to step 2. You do it, right now. No debating, no planning, no I'll get to it later. You just act. So, why in the world is this tiny little habit so ridiculously effective? It all comes down to a powerful force, a principle from physics that applies perfectly to our productivity: momentum. Momentum is that magic that kicks in right after you get going. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, right? Well, so do we. We've already agreed that starting is the hardest part. Momentum is the force that carries you forward once you've broken through that initial wall. So really, the 2-minute start is just a clever little trick you play on your own brain. Your brain looks at this big, scary task, and its first instinct is to run away. But when you reframe it as just a tiny 2-minute action, all that resistance just melts. The task becomes too small, too easy to justify skipping. Let's make this really practical. So instead of telling yourself, I've got to do a full 1-hour workout, which sounds exhausting, you tell yourself, I'll just do 2 minutes of exercise. Instead of, I have to study for 2 hours, it's, I'll just read 1 page. And instead of the huge goal, I need to build my business, you shrink it way down to, I'll just work on it for 2 minutes. And this perfectly captures the real secret behind this whole thing. See, we have it completely backwards. We sit around waiting to feel motivated so we can act. But the truth is, action creates motivation. The very act of starting, no matter how small, is what generates the feeling you were waiting for all along. Okay, And this is where a simple trick really turns into a life-changing habit. It's where we go from just using a rule to actually building a new identity. You become a starter. This is all about changing the story you tell yourself. Stop saying, I need to stop procrastinating. That keeps your focus on the problem. Instead, you start to adopt a new identity. I am someone who starts immediately. This isn't just wordplay. Your identity drives your actions, and your actions prove that identity is real. And we've got to call out the biggest trap that so many of us fall into, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Perfection is usually just a fancy excuse. It's procrastination, wearing a suit and tie, making you feel productive while you're actually just delaying the start. So right now, you're at a crossroads, a real decision point. You have two very clear choices. You can finish this, go back to your day, and let things go back to how they were. Or you can pick one single thing, just one, that you've been putting off, and you can apply the 2-minute rule right this second. Not later, now. Because think about it, 1 year from today, where will you be? Will you look back on the last year feeling proud of everything you got done? Or will you feel that familiar pang of regret for all the things you didn't do? The difference between those two realities isn't going to be skill or luck. It's going to come down to 1,000 tiny choices just like this one. The choice to start or the choice to delay. The choice is yours.